Time for real. We're going to jump in. Thank you. So you'll see there my name, Adam L. Sáenz, PhD. I am a licensed psychologist, and D.Min is a doctorate of ministry. I'm also an ordained clergy. And so I've been in school longer than I even want to admit. I'm 100 years old now, so it's been a while. What I'm going to teach you or talk to you about tonight, really, most of what I learned, honestly, it wasn't when I was studying those degrees. I mean, those degrees were helpful, but these human beings right here, they're the ones that have taught me the most. And so that's my wife and my children, grandchildren, and we got two more on the way. That's where that was the school of hard knocks. I got my PhD at A&M, but I got really most of my life lessons raising four of my own children, three biological, one adopted, and grandkids. So most of what I'm sharing with you, I've had to learn the hard way myself. So there you go. Next thing is, look at that, man. That's my actual personal cell number, which people say, like, are you crazy giving out your cell number? Well, I'm crazy, but that's not why I give out my cell number. I want you to be able to interact with me. So if you have any questions or comments along the way, we're not going to have a traditional chat, but feel free to text me between now and the next 30 minutes. Now, when we're done, we're done. So you can text me at 7:30 tonight and say, "Hey, Adam, I just want to talk to you real quick about my mother-in-law. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna answer. It's 30 minutes. Whatever questions you have in 30 minutes, boom. And then at the end, I'll try to go back. If anybody has any questions, I'll go to my text and we'll do some Q&A toward the end. But you can send the questions anytime you want, starting now. And then, like I said, when we're done, then I'll go back and answer them. So let me just practice. Somebody send me a text and say, "Hey, Adam, I got it." I just want to make sure that you can see the number, and that. So anybody, just send me a random text and just say, "Hey, Adam, we're good," and then that way I'll move forward. Oh, there it is. Okay, one of my great friends just texted me, said, hey, so we're good. Okay. Here we go. Let's jump in. Dan Goleman is an American psychologist, and he wrote this book in the 1990s called Emotional Intelligence. And if you look at the bottom part, it says why it can matter more than IQ. So most people know what IQ is. It's intellectual quotient. EQ is emotional quotient or emotional intelligence. Okay. And so Dan Goleman wrote this book in the 90s, and it was huge. It was like no one had ever talked about this stuff the way he did. And it just made so much sense. And this is one of my favorite quotes out of this book. So look at this. Dan Goleman said, "If you don't have self-awareness, if you're not able to manage your distressing emotions, if you can't have empathy, if you can't have effective relationships, no matter how smart you are, you're not going to get very far." Okay. And I love that quote. So I do a lot of work in the corporate sector. And there's a saying that hard skills get you hired and soft skills get you fired, right? So you can look good on paper, but if you come across interpersonally as ineffective, that's when you're going to lose your job. So I just don't feel like I can overstate how important this content is, because if we can teach our children how to regulate their distressing emotions, oh my gosh, they're going to benefit from it as employees. They're going to benefit from it as employers. They're going to be better a spouse to their partner. They're going to be a better parent. They're going to live longer because they're not bottling up emotion. I mean, talk about a core skill. This is emotional intelligence 101, what we're covering tonight. And like I said, I just don't feel like I can overstate how much our kids benefit when we impart these skills to them. Okay, so here we go. We're going to move forward now. I'm going to start off with an analogy. Basically, I'm going to show 5 ways to respond to emotion, and then I'm going to show 3 steps to instruct it. So that's the big picture: 5 responses to emotion and 3 steps to manage emotion. Okay, so let's imagine this. Let's say that your son or your daughter comes home and they've got a gallon of gas. So you see that, they walk in the door, and you know right away, like, oh, that's fuel. Okay, great. Like, well, let's be wise with that. We're not going to, one thing you could do is just ignore it and just pretend like it's not even there. Well, I mean, yeah, that's probably not the safest thing, because what if your child puts it next to the stove, and it could blow up and it could explode. But you can ignore it and just kind of like, okay, we're fine, right? So that's one thing you can do with that fuel is ignore it. The next thing you can do is inhibit it. And so here's what I mean by that. Let's say you know that gasoline can be damaging. It can be hurtful. So what if you inhibit it and say, all right, son, all right, daughter, here's the deal. Don't ever bring gasoline home. This home is a no gasoline place. And that way you're thinking, okay, we're safe. Because I told them don't bring gasoline in here, okay, which is fine. But what if you need gasoline for your lawnmower? You know, gasoline can be a very powerful fuel. What about propane? You know, do you say no propane in this house? Okay, well, what if you want to light your grill? You know, but you've already ruled out propane. So you can ignore the fuel. You can inhibit the fuel and say don't bring it. You can invalidate the fuel. And what that means, this will make more sense when I talk about emotion, but you can invalidate it means that's not gasoline, that's electricity. Okay, so you're invalidating one thing and saying it's another thing. Okay, and when I talk about emotions, it'll make more sense, but that's really confusing because the kid says, well, that's really weird that you're calling this electricity because it sure smells strong and it's sure oily, and you know, when I put a match on it, it goes kaboom, you know. So we can ignore emotion, or I'm sorry, fuel. We can inhibit fuel, we can invalidate it, and none of that's going to be helpful in the long run, because the bottom line is your child is bringing home a fuel, and that's an issue, right, that needs to be addressed. The next thing, the fourth one, is you can invite it, which is kind of weird, you know. What if you said in this kind of analogy, this story that I'm painting, hey kids, if you find fuel and you're not stealing it, bring it home. We could use it. If you find a can of propane, bring it home. We could use it. If you find some gasoline, bring it home. We can store it in the shed, and we could use it for the lawnmower. If you find a battery, bring it home. We could use it for the computer, right? So what if you invited it? Okay, so just bear with me. Then you say, well, that's weird. What would I do with all that fuel? Bingo. Then the last thing, so again, you can ignore it, you can inhibit it, you can invalidate it, but you can invite it. So then when it comes, you can instruct it. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that if your child brings home gas, you instruct them and say, look, and this is fuel. This could be really, really helpful to our family or really, really hurtful to our family. Let me show you how to manage this so that it's really helpful and not hurtful. So first of all, you don't want it near the stove. You don't want it near anything that's got flame. Let's take it to the shed. We don't want too much of it. We'll leave it in a red can so everybody knows what it is, and we'll put it in the shed. And when we need it, I'll show you how to pour it into the lawnmower, and then thank God we've got this gasoline because it's going to help our family be better. Oh, and you also have that propane that I invited you to bring home. Here's the deal with that. You know, that's compressed, and we really don't need it in the house because it won't be safe. So we'll put it in the shed too. But whenever we want to cook steaks outside or make a meal outside, then what we'll do is we will get that tank, and I'll show you how to hook it up so that you can use the fuel to make our life better. Okay, so again, in this scenario, fuel, your child is bringing fuel, gasoline, electricity, whatever it is. You can ignore it, you can inhibit it, you can invalidate it, or you can invite it so that you can instruct it. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, this is where we get to the part about emotion and how to instruct, what to deal with emotion. So emotion comes from the Latin word movere, which means to move. So that, like, sometimes if we listen to a really evocative piece of music, we say, oh, that music moved me. Oh, I was moved to action. So it implies that emotion is a force, or it's a power within us that moves us into action. It moves us to something. So we can think of emotion as fuel or power. So you can think of, like, happiness is propane, and sadness is electricity, and anger is rushing water, and confusion is solar power. So each emotion is like a fuel source, okay, deep coming up inside of us. Now, people say there are good emotions and bad emotions. I don't buy that. I don't like, there's not good gasoline and bad gasoline. There's just gasoline. What makes it good or bad is what I do with it. I can pour the gasoline in my car, give you a ride to Walmart, and that gasoline is a blessing. Or I can take that same can of gasoline, pour it around your house, and burn your house down, and it's a curse. But the gasoline is not good or bad. It's what am I going to do with it, right? And so too often we see people that don't know how to manage anger, for example, and they hurt people with their anger because it moves them to anger. And we say, oh, anger is a bad emotion. Well, it's not a bad emotion when it's expressed appropriately. And when anger is expressed appropriately, it's a very good thing. I love Fred Rogers, God rest his soul. That guy he's just a hero of mine. And he was so far ahead of his time. And one of my favorite quotes by him is, all emotions are mentionable and all emotions are manageable. Emotional intelligence in one statement. That's it. So then, we think, oh, what are the chances that my kid's going to come home with a 5-gallon tank of gas? Or what are the chances that my kid's going to come home with a big propane tank filled with, fuel? Probably not great, but what are the chances they're going to come home from school angry or sad or confused or maybe excited? Well, it's really, really high, right? And so our kids are in these emotions all the time. And so that means daily they're coming to us from school and from church and from the football field and from the volleyball court and from their friend's house and from wherever. And their tanks are filled with all of these fuel sources, all of these emotions. Okay. So now let's go back to those 5 things I talked about. Number 1, I can ignore it. And in some way, just act like it's there. So my kid comes in, they're huffing and they're puffing and they're slamming doors and I'm just going to ignore it. Well, whatever. I'm just going to pretend like it's not there. Okay, like you can do that, but just like if you ignore that gasoline and somebody puts it next to the stove and it doesn't get attended to, it could get really nasty. It could get really damaging and destructive in the house. So there's a time and a place to ignore emotion, but not always. If that's all you do, like be careful, man, because you're setting yourself up and you're setting your family up. Okay, so we don't want to ignore it. The next one is we can inhibit emotion, which is to restrict my child from experiencing challenging feelings. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you grew up in a house that was, everybody raged. They were rageaholics and people said mean things and hurt people with their bodies. They had physical damage when they were angry. So you don't like anger because you've seen what anger can do when it's not managed the right way. So then your rule now as a parent is we don't do anger in this house. No anger is allowed in this home. You turn that frown, so you get that frown, you get that look off your face, right? We don't do anger in this house. We don't do sadness in this house. By God, my mom was depressed all the time, and there will not be a depressed kid in my house. So you turn your frown upside down. That's inhibiting emotion, restricting them from experiencing challenging feelings. And a lot of times we do that because we ourselves as parents are tired and overwhelmed, and it's like, I'm not going to ignore the fact that you're angry, but I don't want to deal with it right now. So just turn it off. Just make it go away. That's called inhibiting emotion. It's not helpful. Next one, invalidate emotion. Tell my child they're wrong to feel what they feel. So here's what that sounds like. You shouldn't be angry. You should be grateful. Do you know how many starving children in Africa would love to have your life? Man, back in my day, we had to walk uphill in the snow barefoot both ways in Texas because it was that cold back then. And we didn't have iPhones. We didn't have social media back then, man. We had to use landlines for crying out loud, You should be grateful. So anytime we start telling our children or anyone what they should feel in psychobabble, we call that shoulding on somebody. You should this, you should that, you shouldn't this, you shouldn't that. Like, no, we don't get to do that. I mean, and not be healthy anyway. So we don't want to invalidate it. They feel what they feel and they're entitled to that. They get that, And so again, I think part of the reason we ignore emotion, we inhibit emotion, or we invalidate emotion is that either we don't know what to do with it, so we just want to get it out of the way, or I know what to do with it, but I'm just so tired right now, man. I had a long day at work and I want to deal with my kids right now. Okay. So we go to those things. I go to those things when I'm tired and either I don't know what to do or I know what to do, but I don't have the energy to do it. Those are real quick ways to kind of sidestep the issue. But because emotion is fuel, in the end, if I do all these things, and that's all I do, I'm setting myself up and my kids. Because remember, what Dan Goleman said, no matter how smart you are, you're not going to get very far. That's what he's talking about. You know, if you're if you grow up without knowing what to do with that inner fuel, you're going to go into a relationship with a friend, or you're a dating relationship, or you're going to get engaged, or you're going to be married, you're going to be a boss, and all that emotion is going to build up, and it's going to damage. No matter how smart you are, you're not going to get very far. Okay, so let's go to number 4. I can also invite emotion. Tell my children that all feelings are welcome. And that's exactly what it is. You say to your kid, look, man, you do you. You get to be angry. If you want to be angry, you get to be angry. If you didn't get what you wanted for your birthday, even though I spent $1 billion on you, but I should have spent $3 billion because the kid across the street, they got a $3 billion present. You get to be angry. It disappoints me that you can't appreciate what you did, but you get to be angry. And I'm not going to judge you for that or shame you for that. You get to feel whatever you want to feel. And that way they can bring it out to the table. And I know you're thinking, oh, but what do I do then? My kid's all angry. My kid's all sad. My kid's all scared and anxious. What do I do? Good question. You instruct it. Once they bring it to the table, you show them how to take that fuel and hook it to a behavior to make their life better. I take the gasoline and I pour it into the lawnmower, my life gets better. I take the propane, I hook it up to the grill outside, my life gets better. I take a battery, I hook it up to my car, my life gets better. I take anger and I hook it up to the right behaviors, my life gets better. Okay, all feelings are mentionable and all feelings are manageable. So those are the 5 ways we can respond to emotion. How do you instruct emotion? That's a 3-step process. Number 1, how do you instruct emotion? Number 1, identify the feeling and use a feeling chart or any other cues if necessary. So you just ask them, hey, how you feeling right now? You're not going to ignore the emotion. Your spidey sense starts to tingle as a parent. You know they're angry. You're sensing they're anxious or scared. So you just say, hey, are you doing okay? Right? All right. But don't say, are you doing okay? Ask specifically, how are you feeling? Not, are you good? Because good is not, my oldest son used to drive me crazy. I would ask him, how you feeling? And he'd say, I'm good. And I would tell him, like, you're not. No, you're not. He's, no, I'm good. I'm good. I know you can't be feeling good because feel good is not a feeling. It's an adverb, right? Name a feeling. That's a noun. And then he would get all mad at me, you know. But he figured it out. So ask them how they're feeling. Now, they may say, I don't know. They might be trying to blow you off if they say, I don't know. It's like, just get out of here. I don't want to talk about it. But they really may not know. Okay, so then what you do is you can say, well, it looks to me like you're feeling angry because I see, man, your fists are all clenched up and your eyebrows look like this. Your face looks like one on this feelings chart. So this is what a feelings chart looks like. And if you don't have one at your house, I highly recommend that you put one on your refrigerator, especially if you got elementary school kids. But you can even say to them, if they say, I don't know, or if they say good, don't take that for an answer. Say, okay, do this, man. Pull out your phone and text me an emoji. Just pick an emoji so that I can have some kind of clue about how you're feeling, right? So that's how you start developing what's called emotional literacy. Just like literacy is I can identify letters and then I can write them and then I can put them together to make words and I can put words together to make paragraphs. All of that establishes meaning. Emotional literacy is, I can identify feelings and I can name those feelings and I can know what to do with them. And that establishes meaning. Okay, so step 1, how are you feeling? Okay, so my older son, not really into feelings at all, says, good. No, you're not. And then my youngest son, very in tune with his emotions. How are you feeling? Well, I'm a little bit discouraged, but I'm kind of excited because tomorrow we've got a party. I'm like, dude, you're killing it, right? Okay, so that's step 1. Then step 2 is you say, link the feeling with a hurtful behavior. You say, look, here's the deal. Adam, it's okay to be angry. You can be angry that you didn't get what you want for your birthday. You can be angry that you got a Toyota, but you wanted a Prius or you wanted a Lexus or whatever. You can be angry. You asked the girl to the dance and she said no, or she asked she went with your best friend, whatever. You can be angry, okay? But listen, man, you can't tear up your room. You can't cuss me out. You can't use profanity. You can't hit somebody. You can't destroy property. You can be sad, absolutely, but you can't lock yourself in the room for 6 days and play Xbox and eat Little Debbie's for 5 days in a row. You can't do that. It's not healthy. It's not helpful. It's hurtful, okay? So you link that emotion with a destructive behavior, the hurtful behavior, and then step 3 is say, listen, here's what I want you to do instead. It's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to hit, kick, cuss, spit, run away, destroy property, shut down, whatever. You can be sad, but it's not okay to lock yourself in the room for whatever, avoid us, sleep for 7 days straight. Next time you feel angry, just say, Dad, Mom, I feel angry. Can you help me? Next time you feel angry, please just practice your breath work. Take 10 deep breaths. Pull out your journal and write why you are so angry. Draw a picture about why you are so angry. Go for a walk around the block as fast as you can to get out that emotion. All of those things are acceptable. And if you do any of those things, you are not going to get in trouble. In fact, you definitely will get verbal reinforcement from me. I'm going to say, thank you for doing that, man. You're awesome. And maybe I even reward you for it, right? If you're 6 years old and you're just now learning how to manage your anger and you take deep breaths, man, I might give you a minute extra of computer time. I don't know, something to let you know that, yep, you're on the right track. Ding, ding, ding. Keep it up. Okay, good. Oh, that says step 4. That's actually step 3. Step 2, there's a magical step 3 somewhere in there. I don't want to tell you because it would solve all of your parenting problems. So we're going to skip that and go to step 4. All right. I'm going to lose sleep tonight because I messed up my PowerPoint. Okay, so there you go. Now, so that's it. That's it. How do you teach your children to manage emotions? That's it. You don't want to ignore it. You don't want to inhibit it. You don't want to invalidate it. You want to invite it so that you can instruct it using those 3 steps. Identify the feeling, link it with a hurtful behavior, and then offer a helpful behavior instead. That's it. So what I would do if you want to do this is tell your kids first, hey, y'all, guess what? We are going to be an emotionally literate family. I know that sounds weird, man, but we're going to be one. Well, what does that mean? It just means we're going to talk about our feelings in this house. It's okay to talk about feelings, And so you're going to ask me, how do you feel? And it might feel weird for me to ask you, especially because you're a 16-year-old, 17-year-old boy, and the last thing you want to do is talk about feelings. But we're going to do it because in the long run, man, I am doing your future boss a favor. I am doing your future husband a favor, your future wife a favor, your future kids a favor. The girl that you want to date in college, I'm doing that girl a favor by showing you how to do this, right? So you just let them know. And you just kind of lay this out. I'm not going to ignore your feelings. I'm not going to inhibit them. I'm not going to invalidate them. I'm going to invite them, and I'm going to ask you about them so that we can talk about what to do with them. Okay. And then, so that's the first thing, is let them know, and then say the other thing. And this is the part I hate. I love this for my kids, but I hate this part. I also have to stop as a parent before I even try to teach them anything and ask, am I ignoring my feelings as a parent? What feelings might a parent have? I don't know. What about this, man? I'm angry at my kids. I love my kids, but I sure don't like them today. Man, what was I thinking? I'm sad that my kid did get into college, didn't get into college. I'm sad that I can provide for my kids, that I can't provide for them. They're dating who I want. They're dating who I don't want, right? You don't want to ignore that as an adult. You don't want to inhibit your emotions either. You don't want to invalidate your emotions. You get to feel whatever you want to feel as a parent. If you've got, intense feelings towards your kids, you get to have them. There's nothing wrong with you, right? And then you invite those emotions out of yourself, and then you talk to your spouse or your partner, not to your kids. This isn't work you want to do with your kids. This is about you and your partner, you and your spouse, you and your small group, your comadre, your compadre, your girlfriend, like whoever you do life with. This is an adult to adult conversation where you just get to be you and vent your emotions out. Okay. But if I'm the parent and I'm all dysregulated as a parent and angry and and hey, y'all need to shut up. Y'all need to learn to manage your anger. I'm sick of y'all. You better get if that, right? The kids, they can smell a rat and they're not going to go for it. Okay, we got 4 minutes. Man, I got some good questions here in the chat. Any advice for adopted kids who would like to trade their parents in for a better set? Tell them yes. I lived in foster care. We adopted. I know this world. Tell them, listen, if you feel disappointed in us, you get to feel that, man. I wish you could have got perfect parents, man, but you got stuck with us. And so, I get it. Like, we're not perfect. We're not perfect. And we can talk about it. We can go to counseling and we can talk about why you're so disappointed in us. Whatever we can change that will make your life better, we're open to that. Okay. But there may be some things you don't like about us, and we're not going to change them, but at least we can talk about it, So that's what I would say to adopted kids who want to trade their parents in for a better set is like, yeah, I get it. You're not the first person I've disappointed. Let's go to counseling and talk about it. Do I provide therapy for teenagers? Sometimes. More often, I work with parents than teens, because what I find is that if you help the parent and give the parent some skills and some bandwidth and fill their cup up, every kid in the house benefits from that. There's like a systemic effect. There's a time and a place where like all my kids are doing great, we're doing great, but my one teenager's struggling. Can you work with that one teenager? Sometimes I do that. How do I start doing this if my kids are resistant to talking about their emotions, like my son? Do you probe or wait until they're ready to talk? I would say this to that kid. I know you don't want to talk about your feelings, I get it, but this is so important to me as a parent, and it's going to be so important to you in the long run. So here's the bad news. Look, man, I love you. I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm going to ask you again in a couple of days, and I'm going to ask you again in a week, and I'll ask you again in a month, and we're just going to keep trying, and I might give you a feelings chart, and that might help you. And then sometimes I'm going to poke and ask you more questions, and you're not going to like it. And then sometimes I'm going to back away. But yeah, I know it's not fun, but I think you're going to get really good at it. You're going to get really good at it. So we'll practice, and it might feel awkward and weird at first. And there will be times where, I just sit back and wait and let you come to me. And then there are going to be times I'm going to come to you, and then you tell me how you're feeling about it. So that's that. And then one person says, how have I been? And that's not an area code from Texas. So I'm thinking that was spam. Somebody's trying to spam me. For what it's worth, I've been very well. Thank you for asking. That's not a 979 area code. So anyway. All right, y'all. So that's it. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I wish I was better at this back in the day when I had young kids. And when my daughter was in high school, we had a conversation one time, and she said she was with a group of friends at a volleyball game, and we were there, and one of her friends, a group of friends that started talking, they said, what does your dad do? And she said, he's a psychologist. And so this is my daughter telling me the story, and her friends asked her like, wow, your dad's a psychologist. What's that like? And she said, oh, I told him it sucks. So anyway, I know the territory. All right, y'all, listen, thank you for tuning in. And just the fact that you would invest 30 minutes in your child just speaks to your love for them. So congratulations for all the great work that you're doing. Please keep it up. Please keep doing you. And man, I hope we get a chance to visit again. Let's see. Okay, that's it. I'll stop there.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sáenz, and for everybody who joined us. If you hopped on in the middle and you didn't get a chance to see Dr. Sáenz's phone number or anything like that, you can always reach out to me or Melanie at the district. And our email addresses and phone numbers are on our staff directory. Austin Dunson, Director of Communications, Melanie Ward, Community Engagement Coordinator. This is the kind of work that we are really passionate about in our department, and making sure that we're connecting our community with resources that we have access to, like Dr. Sáenz. We're going to have more of these kinds of sessions at the district level with information about schools and what we're doing here at the district. Also going to bring Dr. Sáenz back for some more of these. So please feel free to shoot us some emails. Thank you, Melanie, for putting that in the chat. Appreciate that. And we will definitely see you guys in the future for more of these virtual chats, some in-person ones. But Dr. Sáenz, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. We'll be in touch soon. Thank you, CSISD community. We'll see y'all soon as well. Y'all have a good night.